We'll start the class now. As we discussed today, we're going to discuss about the ADO.NET. The full form of the ADO.NET is Active Data Object, Active Data Objects for .NET. Now, what is the use of this ADO.NET? Why people are using this ADO.NET, and how to work with the create, insert, update, delete all the operations from Visual Studio to SQL Server. That all the things we're going to discuss on today's class. Now, observe here all of you very carefully. As of now, whatever we are created, like creating a table and database and working with the stored procedures and all the other stuff are coming under the SQL Server. Am I right? Now, observe here, in last days, we have created the employee as a table, employee as a table. In the employee, we have a columns like employee ID and suppose employee name and so on. So now, in the SQL Server, this is treating like a table. This is treating like a table. And coming to the .NET, from coming to the .NET, the same employee is treating like a class. Am I right? So in the backend, that is in the SQL Server, the same EMP class is treating like a table. In the .NET, the same EMP class is treating like a in the .NET, the same EMP employee is treating like a class. Suppose here it's class, in the backend it is a table. So suppose see example that if you are taking a two persons with two different languages, suppose see example that here the class would be treating like a Telugu language and table would be treating like a English language. So the Telugu guy can't able to communicate with the English guy directly. Am I right? Telugu person can't able to communicate with the English person directly. If you want to make the communication between Telugu person to an English person, we need a translator. We need a translator. The translator need to know the idea on both the languages, that is Telugu and English, so that whatever the Telugu guy is speaking, the translator will take the request and will convert the request into the English language, and it will be pass the English information to the English guy. The same way, the vice versa. First, English people, if the English guy is talking to the translator will convert that into the Telugu and he can able to speak. Now, the same way, how translator is required to make the communication between different language people, the same way here in the .NET we have a ADO.NET, because why ADO.NET is required in the sense class cannot able to communicate directly with the table, because class is storage is different and table storage is different. So different storage medias can't able to communicate directly. The same way how Telugu guy is not able to communicate with the English guy, the same way class can able to communicate with the class cannot able to communicate with the table. Due to that reason, we needed translators in between the class and the table. Those translators will be calling as a middleware technologies. So with the help of the middleware technologies, we can able to make the communication between class to table and table to class and all those things. The list of middleware technologies that are available in the market are ADO.NET and Link to SQL, and the other one is Entity Framework. Okay, Entity Framework. Now, listen here all of you very carefully. In our class, we are discussing about the ADO.NET, and listen here, that is what I told you in the starting of the class, right? We are discussing about the ADO.NET. So to make the communication between the class and the table, now we are going to discuss about the ADO.NET. ADO.NET is acting like a middleware technology to make the communication between class and table. Am I right? That means .NET to SQL Server communication, we are making the communication between .NET to SQL Server with the help of the middleware technology. That is what we are calling as a ADO.NET. Now, we will see, if you want to work with the ADO.NET, we need to add two namespaces. Namespace means it's a collection of classes. Now, we need to add two namespaces whenever you want to work with the ADO.NET. Those two namespaces are system.data and one more is system.data.sql client. Okay, these two namespaces we need to add whenever you want to work with the ADO.NET. Again, I'm telling you people, these are the namespaces. Namespace in the sense it's a collection of classes. Namespace in the sense it's a collection of classes. Under this two namespaces, we have many classes. With the help of those classes only, we are working with the ADO.NET. Again, I'm saying you people, ADO.net, what is the meaning of ADO.net? It is acting as a middleware technology between .NET and SQL Server. That is clear. Am I right? If you want to work with the ADO.net, we need to work with two namespaces. Namespace in the sense it's a collection of classes. It's a collection of classes. Collection of classes, and under these two namespaces, we have different classes. We'll going to list out those classes now. One is SQL connection and SQL command and SQL data reader and SQL data adapter and data set and data row and data column, data table. Like this, we have plenty of the classes in under this is system.data and system.data.sql client. Now, whenever you people are observing this, some of the classes, they are preceded with SQL keyword. కొన్ని classes ki SQL, some of the classes, they are started with SQL. See, the four classes, whatever I have taken, that is SQL connection, SQL command, SQL data reader, data adapter. These all the 1 minute. Yeah, these all the classes are starting with SQL keyword, so they are coming from system.data.sql client. So some of the classes, those are data set, data row, data column and data table. Those classes are not started with SQL keyword. Those classes are coming under system.data. Okay, again I'm telling you, system.data, the classes that are coming under system.data are data set, data row and data column, data table. And what all the classes that are coming under system.data.sql client is, these are the classes. A classes like SQL 30 precede, which all the classes are started with the SQL keyword, then those are coming under a system.data.sql client, and which all the classes are not preceded with SQL keyword, those are coming under system.data. Okay, so totally 8 classes are there. You people need to remember all those 8 classes so that we can able to work one by one whenever we are starting, whenever we are working with the ADO.net. Now, clear all of you? First, we'll try to see what is the meaning of SQL connection class. The first class is, we are today in our today's class, we are mainly focusing on system.sql connection and SQL command. Okay, SQL connection and SQL command. These are the two classes we are focusing on today's class. These are the two classes we are focusing. Now, first we will see what is the meaning of SQL connection. Now, listen here all of you very carefully. I'm opening the SQL Server database. Whenever you want to connect to the SQL Server database, we need to pass username and password and server name, which database you need to contact. Those are all the things we need to pass as the parameters to my SQL connection class. It's taking time. We'll wait for a second so that SQL Server will open. Yeah. See here all of you very carefully. Whenever you want to connect to the SQL Server, we must and should need to pass the server name and authentication mode and username and password. See here all of you. My system, I have a server name as dot. Server name is dot, and authentication mode I'm taking as Windows and Windows. Under this database, under this under this SQL Server database, I want to communicate with the database, whatever we have created eCloud as a database, I want to use in my project now. Now listen here all of you. I'm using the server name and authentication. I'm connecting to the server. Yeah, very good. The server was connected. Under this server, I'm using the database, that is eCloud. See here all of you. I'm using the database, that is eCloud. See, eCloud is a database. Under this eCloud database, I'm trying to point to the employee as a table. Clear all of you? Select start from EMP or employee. So many tables are there that are referring with employee. Yeah, I'm using this table. Now listen here. So if you want to connect to the SQL Server, we need to give the server name as dot and authentication mode as Windows. Whenever you are giving the authentication mode as Windows, as you people know that it's not required you to pass username and password. Whenever you are taking the authentication mode as Windows, so it's not required you to pass. It's not required to pass username and password because Windows authentication is not requiring the username and password. So going forward, I'm using my authentication mode as Windows and server name as dot and database as eCloud. Now observe here with the help of the ASP.NET website web application, I'm trying to use the ADO.NET and I'm trying to perform some insert operation now. Now observe here all of you. I'm opening my Visual Studio. Observe here all of you very carefully. From here it's most important. And I'm creating a new project over here. I'm going to web in this Visual Studio 2012 ASP.NET empty web application, correct? Yeah, listen here. Now in the Solution Explorer, I'm creating the new web page. I'm going to the Solution Explorer. Just taking time. Hope it's still processing. We'll wait for a few minutes. Oh, what's happening? Otherwise, we'll try to create a new website. Otherwise, we'll open the existing website, whatever it is there in my system, because it's taking more time to process. Yeah, nice. Yeah, listen here all of you very carefully. Now I'm creating a new web page here. Now observe, I'm just right clicking on the solution, add new item, add the new item. The new item is a web page I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create the web page, and now observe here my requirement is whenever the user is clicking on the button, I just want to delete the employee where the employee ID is equal to 1 or 2. Am I right? So if you want to delete the employee 1 or 2, the query is what? Delete employee, delete employee where employee ID is equal to EMP ID is equal to 1 or 2. Correct all of you? This is the query I want to fire from Visual Studio. Okay. Now observe here all of you very carefully. Whenever the user is clicking on the button, I just want to delete the record where the employee ID is equal to 1 or 2. As I told you, if you want to work with the ADO.NET, we need to add two namespaces. Those are using system.data, and one more is using system.data.sql client. Am I right, all of you? Now observe here, I'm trying to take the connection string SQL connection con is equal to new SQL connection here the server name and password, authentication mode is Windows, and database name and all the things we need to give. If you want to connect to the server, here in the down we have a server explorer. We need to click on that. Here we need to click on connect to the server, and we need to give the server name as dot, and authentication, enter the database name. The database name I'm using as eCloud, as we discussed. I'm giving the eCloud as a database. After that, I'm selecting the authentication mode as Windows authentication. See, first is server name, authentication mode, and database name, what you want to communicate, and testing the connection. If connection is successful, then clicking on OK. That means the SQL server is connected to my Visual Studio. And once after connecting this, the connection string we need to take. So that in the connection, I'm going to the properties. Here we have a connection string property. That connection string property I'm copying here and I'm pasting here. Okay, so then our present web page is connected with the database, with the database name is dot, and the database name is eCloud, and server name is dot, and integrated security is equal to true, in the sense Windows authentication. I'm writing here data source in the sense server name. As we discussed, the server name is dot, and initial catalog in the sense it's a database name. Here in our project we are using the database name as eCloud, and Windows authentication mode we are taking as Windows authentication. And whenever you are taking the authentication mode as Windows authentication, then integrated security will become true. Security will become true. This is the meaning of the SQL connection string, whatever it is generated by the server explorer. So data source and initial catalog and integration security is equal to true. Now observe here, all of you, very carefully. I'm taking the as we discussed, that whenever the user is clicking on this button, we need to delete the record that is 1 or 2. Okay, again I'm writing the query here. String s is equal to delete employee where employee ID is equal to 1 or 2, right? Now the query that is existed in the Visual Studio, whatever the query we have written now, the query is there in the Visual Studio. Now we need to pass this query. From Visual Studio to SQL Server. We need to transport this query from Visual Studio to SQL Server. If you want to perform the transportation of the queries from Visual Studio to SQL Server, then we need to work with the command class. Command class is used to transport the queries from .NET to SQL Server. So I'm taking the transportation class, that is command class, SQL command cmd is equal to new SQL command. So the SQL command class will take this query and will pass this query to the connection, will pass this query to the database that is we have given into the eCloud, because we need to delete the employee record under the eCloud database. So I'm telling to my system, array, pass this my query to the database that is mentioned in the in the connection string, that is gone, is mentioned the database as eCloud. So what this line of code will do, it will take this query and it will pass this query to the eCloud database, because my connection string is pointing to the database name as eCloud. So finally, after passing this query, we need to open the connection and we need to execute. Before executing and after executing, connection open and connection close is mandatory. So before executing, we need to open the connection. After opening, we need to execute the query, and after execution, we need to close the connection. After execution, we need to close the connection. So connection open, connection close is required. Before open and close, in between open and close, we need to execute the query. To execute the query, we need to use the method that is cmd dot execute non-query. This is used to execute. Everyone will get the question that what is the use to execute. See here also, what will command class will do, it will take the record from here to here. If here also, if you want to execute, we need to select this and we need to click on this execute button, right? The same way in the SQL Server, if it need to execute, so we need to, after passing this query, we need to internally clicking on the execute button with the help of execute non-query mechanism. So we are taking the query, we are passing the query, we are opening the connection, and we are executing the query. After execution, we are closing the connection with the help of the con.close. See here, first we need to take the query and we need to pass the query. After passing, before executing, we need to open the connection, and to execute it, we need to use cmd.execute non-query. After that, we need to close the connection to the server. After that, I'm telling to the information to the user response.write. Response in the response.write, in the sense it is used to write some information in the web browser. Okay, I'm telling to the user saying that data deleted successfully. Data deleted successfully. Okay, clear all of you? I'm trying to run this now. Observe. I'm trying to use the browser as Google Explorer, sorry, Google Chrome than Internet Explorer. Okay, listen here all of you. I'm trying to run this now. Whenever the user is clicking on this, we need to delete the employee ID where employee ID is 102. After that, it need to display a message to the user saying that data deleted successfully, because we have taken like this here. After deletion, we need to display the message to the user saying that data deleted successfully. Okay, now listen here. Here presently, before execution of that record, how many records are available? 102 and 103 and 110. 110. Once the user is clicking on the button, 110, 102 Shravanti need to be deleted. See here all of you very carefully. The button is there here. It's not displaying properly in the Chrome. We'll try to run again with the Explorer, Internet Explorer. That would be better. And Internet Explorer I'm running. Now listen here, I'm clicking on the button. See, data deleted successfully. Awesome. Now I'm coming back to the SQL server. I'm again executing this query. So 102 need not to be there now. See, 102 is deleted. Okay, like this, we can able to delete the records. We can able to delete the records, but with the help of the ADO.net, we are just giving the query and we are passing the query. We are opening the connection. We are executing the query and we are closing the connection. After closing the connection, if query execution was successful, then I'm saying that response.write data deleted successfully. Okay, now we will see other things, how to perform insertion. Okay, how to insert the record. Okay, again I'm taking other than that, we'll do one more thing in the same table, in the same application. I'm taking the table. See here all of you, I'm performing the insert table. I'm taking 3 rows and 2 columns here, and enter employee ID, enter employee name, and enter what is the other column. 5 columns are there: employee ID, employee name, designation, salary, and department number. Other than this, we'll see the other table which is having less number of columns. And that is EMP. If you want to perform an employee table, if you want to insert the employee table, you need to just pass employee ID, employee name, and department number. Okay, employee ID, employee name, and department number. Okay, so listen here all of you very carefully. I'm performing the insertion. If you want to perform the insertion, we need to take 3 records, and if we are accepting the data from the user with the help of the text boxes. Now observe here all of you. I'm clicking on the button to perform insertion. Listen here, observe here all of you very carefully. I'm framing the query here. String S is equal to, we are performing what? Insertion. Insert into what is the table? EMP. Values. Here we need to pass 3 values. Other than 3 values now, P1, P2, P3 I'm taking. What is the meaning of P1? P1 means employee ID. That will pass later in the program now. See, P1, P2, P3. Okay. Now observe here. I'm renaming the text boxes now. Observe here all of you very carefully. I'm going to the properties. The ID is txt emp id, and the second one is txt ename, and listen here all of you very carefully. The third one is txt department number. Correct all of you? Txt department number. Now what we need to do is, whenever the user is clicking on that, I'm trying to frame the query that is insert into employee values P1, P2, P3. P1 means what? Employee ID. P1 means what? Employee ID. We are later setting that in the program, that is P1 is employee ID and P2 is employee name and P3 is department number. Clear all of you? I'm passing the query to the database. SQL command CMD is equal to new SQL command of s comma con, and now I'm setting that command. In the command we have a parameters. In the parameters I'm adding the parameter with value. The parameter name is P1. The name of the parameter is coming from P1 means what? Employee ID. The employee ID is coming from the text box, that is txt and now the same way we are setting cmd dot parameters dot add with value. We are setting the parameter that is P2. The P2 value is coming from txt ename.text, and listen here, cmd dot parameters dot add with value. Parameter I'm setting P3. The P3 value is coming from txt department number dot text. Okay. The same way, whatever we have taken in the above method, that is before execution, we need to open the query and we need to open the connection, executing the query and close the connection. These all the things are mandatory again. So con dot open and cmd dot execute non-query, and connection close, and after that writing the information to the user saying that response dot write of data inserted successfully. Okay, listen here all of you very carefully. I'm trying to run this program now. As of now, in EMP table, what all the records are available, we'll just try to check now. EMP table, what are the records are available, that is 101, 102, 103 and 104 are there. Now I'm trying to perform insertion of 105 record. Yeah, nice, Arjun, very good. In the P2 we have taken txt empid, so we need to rename it as txt ename. Awesome, great. Now I'm trying to run this. Now observe here all of you very carefully. I'm trying to run this. Now employee ID I'm trying to take as 105, and because 105 record is not there, till 104 only we have the records. I'm trying to perform it. I'm trying to insert 105, and 105 suppose I'm taking Arjun, and I'm taking the department number as 50. I'm trying to perform insertion. Listen here all of you. Data inserted successfully. Now we'll see whether data is inserted on 105 or not. See why 2 times it is inserted, in the sense I have clicked this button set 2 times. So if I'm clicking third time, again the one more time 105 will come. See here all of you, the mistake is in the table we didn't taken the employee ID column as primary key. Whenever, see here, as I told you people, whenever the column is having the primary key, the key symbol would become white. We also see in some of the other tables. See, I hope so it is an employee. See here all of you. Yeah, whenever it is a primary key, it need to have the key symbol. Whatever the table now it is, we are pointing for that table in the column employee ID, we don't have the primary key. If the primary key is not there, it will accept the duplicate values and it will accept the null values also. Because of employee ID is not having the primary key, it is accepting the 105 employee record 3 times, and it will accept 1000 times. It will accept n number of times how many times you are clicking on insert. Okay, clear all of you? This is how we can able to perform the insertion. Now we will see how to perform the update. Okay, now we'll see how to perform the update. Now observe here all of you very carefully. My requirement is I need to update the employee name. Based on the employee ID. Listen here all of you very carefully. I need to update employee name based on the employee ID. See, as of now, for employee ID 105, we have taken Arjun, right? Now, I want to update Arjun with, I need to update the 105 record with Kalyani. Okay, how we can perform the update, we're going to see now. Now, I'm taking the button name as update. I'm taking the button names as update. And now, the below button is insert. Just give it 2 minutes, all of you. I'll come back. 2 or 3 minutes. Just give me 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to mute. As we discussed that based on employee ID, we need to update the employee name. Am I right? Now, listen here all of you very carefully. Whenever a user is clicking on the update button, whenever the user is clicking on the update button, we need to write the query that is string s is equal to update employee, update EMP will take update EMP because we are pointing to the table EMP. Now this EMP is having the columns like employee ID and employee name and department number as we discussed. Updating the employee table, updating the EMP table, we can say EMP table, where setting employee name, we are setting the value that is employee name. The employee name is P1, where employee ID is equal to @P2. Clear all of you? Again I'm telling you people, listen, updating the employee, setting the employee name as P1, where employee ID is equal to P2. Now we need to pass the query to the database with the help of SQL command. CMD is equal to new SQL command of s,con, and we are opening the connection to the database with the help of con.open, and we need to pass these parameters. What is the meaning of P1 and what is the meaning of P2 and all those things. Listen here, CMD dot parameters dot add with value. Now the value P1 means what? Here all of you observe, the P1 means what? Employee name. Am I right? The employee name is coming from the text box, that is txt ename dot text. Am I right? Now the same way we are setting cmd dot parameters dot add with value. The other parameter, that is P2, the P2 parameter is coming from txt empid dot text. Empid dot text. Clear all of you? I'm just trying to I have just passed the parameters P1 and P2. P1 means employee name and P2 means employee ID. I'm opening the connection. After successfully open the connection, I'm executing the query with the help of cmd.execute on query and closing the connection with the help of con.close. And I'm just displaying a message to the user saying that response.write off data updated successfully. Data updated successfully. Okay, clear all of you until this? Now listen, I'm just trying to run this. Now listen, I'm trying to update the employee 105. I'm trying to update the employee 105 with the name is Kalyani. Okay, listen here. Otherwise, we can update the employee ID 101 from Sai to Kalyani. Okay, now observe here all of you very carefully. I'm trying to perform update of record 101 and the name I'm trying to update is Kalyani, and I'm clicking on update. See here all of you, updated successfully. We'll go back to the database and we'll try to run this query. See what has happened. Only EMP we have pointed, that is the reason. See here 101 with Kalyani, whatever we have given here, 101 with employee ID 101 with a new name, that is Kalyani, we have taken, that is updated here successfully. Clear? This is how we can able to perform insertion, updation and deletion. Now we will see creating the stored procedure and calling the stored procedure from the Visual Studio and all those things we'll see now. Now for this employee record, I'm just trying to create a simple stored procedure that will delete the employee ID as 105. Okay, in the stored procedure itself, I'm giving the employee ID as 105. How to create the stored procedure? All of you people tell me. Create procedure. We are creating what? Procedure. The procedure name is delete employee, and now as begin is a mandatory. Before writing the query, as begin is required. After writing the query, end is required. This is the syntax. Now I'm just trying to perform the delete employee, where employee ID is equal to 105. That means whenever you are calling the stored procedure, 105 record will going to be deleted. Okay, I'm just trying to execute the stored procedure. That means due to any reason, just give me a minute, all of you. Response even for that. Yeah, we can able to do it, Arjun. For that, what we need to do is, for the cmd.execute non-query, we need to leave the data like this. See here, int I. Okay, int I is equal to like convert.2 in 32, like this we need to take. And then how many we are trying to expect one record need to be deleted, right? Whenever it is successfully executed, whenever the update is successfully completed, then I will return 1. Otherwise, I will return 0. I will return 0. So we can able to perform the if condition saying that if I is equal to 1, the updation is successful. Otherwise, if I is equal to 0, then we can say that update is not performed. Okay, that is how we can able to perform we can able to check that whether the query is updated in the database successfully or not. Okay, nice question. Now listen here, all of you, very carefully. I have just created a procedure that is delete emp. Whenever you are executing this delete emp, we need to delete the record that is 105. Now the name of the procedure is delete emp. Now how to use this delete emp procedure from the Visual Studio, that we are going to see now. Now listen here, I'm just trying to create a new web form. Now observe here, all of you, very carefully. I'm trying to take the button. So employee ID is not required to pass here because the employee ID by default we have hard coded, that is 105. Clear, all of you? Now I'm just clicking on this button. Again, I'm taking the namespaces. Those are using system.data and using system.data.sql client, using system.data and using system.data.sql client. Now observe here, all of you, very carefully. And I'm just taking this namespaces and connection string is SQL connection con is equal to new SQL connection, and the connection string we have taken, that is server name is dot and database name is eCloud and integrated security is equal to true. Now observe here, all of you, very carefully. I'm taking SQL command cmd is equal to new SQL command. Earlier we are passing the query string, yes, right? Now we need to pass the procedure name. That's it. That is the simple difference. Now procedure name. The procedure name is executing at where? The connection string con. That means in the con is internally pointing to the eCloud. What is the meaning of it? We are passing this delete emp execution method to this database, that is eCloud. Now we are telling to the system explicitly saying that cmd dot parameters dot no. Just give me a minute. cmd dot command type. The command type we are giving as command type dot, because why I am taking this line of code, I'll tell you people. See, whatever the meaning of delete emp, what is the meaning of delete emp means? That is a stored procedure. Earlier we are giving a query, right? Like this. Earlier we used to give a query. So query is the default one for this command class. If you are not giving the query, if you are giving the procedure, then we need to explicitly telling to the system that whatever I have given the delete emp as a stored procedure, you can consider this as a stored procedure, like this I'm telling to the system. So must and should, whenever you are passing the procedure, we need to add this line of code. You have the command type. The command types are two types. One is table and one is procedure. One is the query and one is procedure. The query is like this, we are passing the query is select a star from emp, like this, something we are taking the query name that is pointing with yes, that is we are passing over here. If you are not passing the query, if you are trying to pass the procedure, we need to take the procedure name. Whenever you are taking the procedure name, we need to must and should tell to the system saying that whatever the one I have passed, that is a stored procedure. So you are telling to the system that as a stored procedure with the help of command type is equal to command type dot stored procedure. Complete, clear, all of you? Now I'm opening the connection. I'm opening the connection and I'm executing the query. cmd.execute non-query, and I'm closing the connection, con.close, and like this. After completion of execution, I'm trying to display the information to the user, response.write of data deleted successfully, successfully. Now observe here, all of you, very carefully. Before execution of this button, before execution of this query, in my database we have the records like this. Listen. This all the records are there. Now I'm trying to delete 105 record. Now observe here, all of you, very carefully. I'm clicking on the 105 data deleted successfully. After deletion, I'm trying to execute this query again. There is no 105 like this, because in the stored procedure we are calling, in the stored procedure we are mentioning that you need to delete the record that is 105. Okay, the same way you people try to work with the other stored procedure we have discussed, that is insert and delete and insert, update, delete and select and all those things. In the next class we will going to see other topics of the SQL server, that is triggers and working with the login query. These two, triggers and views and working with the login query, these three topics are remained in the SQL server. We're going to discuss those things, and after that we're going to see other topics. The next class is on Monday, and tomorrow you people have the exam. As of now, whatever we have discussed, all the topics like SQL server topics, and what all the topics we have discussed in the .NET, those all the topics combination will I'm trying to conduct the exam tomorrow. Exam is on the same time, that is at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, you people need to write the exam. After completion of writing the exam, you people need to submit share by 11 o'clock, so that I'll check it and I'll talk to you people personally one by one, so that I'll check comment if you people are lagging in somewhere and all those things. Okay, clear all of you? Practice today till whatever we discussed, and tomorrow